The sky was dark orange above the farming planet of Helpless, and the wind moved quietly through tall stalks of golden grain. In the middle of those fields, tied to a broken wooden post, was a young alien girl named Rinya. Her small body was shaking. Her purple skin was scratched and dirty. Her silver hair stuck to her cheeks, wet from tears. Her arms were tied behind her back, and her legs were wrapped in sharp cords that cut into her skin. She had been there for hours. The sun was setting, and the noise of machines in the distance was growing louder. Harvester drones, tall metal giants, with rotating blades, were moving through the fields. Their engines growled. Their blades sliced anything in their path. Rinya could hear them coming. She turned her head and saw the red light of one harvester scanning the crops coming straight toward her. She screamed, "Help, please, someone." But no one answered. No one ever did. Her own family had brought her here, said she was a curse, and left her like trash. Her older brother had whispered, "The machines will take care of your shame." Rinya sobbed. She didn't understand what she had done wrong. All she knew was that since birth, her people had looked at her with fear. Some said her eyes glowed too bright. Some said her blood was too cold. Some just called her useless. She had always hoped someone, anyone, would see her differently. And then, someone did. Far off, on the edge of the field, a man stood, still. His clothes were worn, his boots dusty, and a wrench hung from his belt. He was a human, Daniel Kade, a quiet farmer who lived alone in the outer edge of the colony lands. He had come to check on his grain field after a drone warning showed an obstruction. Through his binoculars, he saw it. A girl. Not a scarecrow. Not a sensor glitch, a real living girl, tied up, crying. "What the hell?" Daniel whispered. Then he saw the red scanning light of the harvester, only a few meters behind her. His heart jumped. No, no, no. Without thinking, he dropped the binoculars, jumped into his old hoverbike, and raced into the grain. Rinya heard a sound, different from the machines. It was faster, smaller. She turned her head weakly and saw something moving through the crops. A light. A bike. Then she saw a man jump off it and run toward her. He was human. She froze. Her people always said humans were dangerous, wild, unpredictable creatures. Some believed they ate alien children. But this one wasn't holding a weapon, he wasn't shouting, he was running. Toward her. Fast. Behind her, the harvester's blades were now only seconds away. She closed her eyes. Suddenly, rough hands grabbed the cords and began cutting. "Hang on! Don't move!" the man shouted. "I've got you!" His voice was deep, but kind. The cord snapped. Her body went limp. The harvester let out a warning beep. Daniel threw her over his shoulder and ran, just as the spinning blades passed behind them, slicing the post clean in half. The wind from the machine hit them both as Daniel dived into the side field. He rolled, shielding the girl with his body. When he looked back, the harvester had passed. Rinya was alive. Rinya blinked up at him. He was breathing hard. His face was scratched from the fall, but his eyes were calm. "You're okay now," he said gently. "I got you." She tried to speak, but her throat was dry. No words came out. Daniel stood and picked her up again. "We need to get you out of here," he muttered. In the distance, lights from alien homes flickered coldly. None of them had come to help. He looked at the silent houses and then back at the girl in his arms. "Cowards," he said under his breath. He walked toward his hoverbike, carrying her like she was precious. And for the first time in her life, Rinya didn't feel like trash. She felt saved. The night wind blew cold across the wide plains of Helpless. As stars blinked high above, the strange silence of the alien field was broken by the low hum of Daniel's old hoverbike. The engine wheezed just like the farmer himself. He was tired. His hands were covered in blisters and grease. But now, his arms held something more fragile than any machine. The alien girl didn't speak. Her head rested against his chest, too, weak to move. Her skin was cold. Too cold. Daniel kicked open the door to his house, a small stone and metal shack surrounded by broken fences and dying plants. The lights inside flickered. An old robot dog barked once, then backed off when it saw the girl in his arms. "Shush, Buster," Daniel said. "She's not trouble. She's trouble's victim." He laid her down gently on the couch, pulling a blanket over her thin frame. Her fingers twitched, as if expecting to be hit. Daniel noticed and paused. "No one's going to hurt you here," he said, more to himself than to her. He walked into the kitchen, grabbed a flask and poured clean water into a chipped mug. He returned, sat beside her, and held the cup to her. "Lips, drink." She opened her eyes, bright silver glowing faintly in the dark. Her lips touched the water. She sipped slowly, carefully, like she was tasting safety for the first time. Outside, the wind carried whispers from the nearby village. Aliens from the same race as the girl gathered near Daniel's field fence. Lanterns in hand, they whispered among themselves. Did he really save her? The cursed girl? Does he know what she is? Old Farmer Brell spat into the dirt. If he keeps her, the harvest will rot. That's what her kind brings. Bad luck, cold hearts, and death. The others nodded. No one dared step closer. Not yet. Inside, Rinya flinched at a soft creaking sound. She tried to sit up, her thin arms trembling. Daniel rushed to her side. "Hey, easy, your legs are cut up bad." She looked at him, confused. Her voice, soft and cracked, escaped her lips. "Why? Help me?" Daniel stared at her for a long second. Then he sat back. He scratched his beard. "I guess because no one else did." That answer didn't make sense to Rinya. In her world, help came with a price or not at all. "I'm broken," she whispered. "My blood is cold. They say I'm a mistake." Daniel looked at her with surprise, then quiet anger. "They're wrong." He stood up and walked to a nearby shelf. He pulled out a small glowing cube and placed it beside her. The cube hummed to life, releasing a soft warmth, healing light. "Old Earth tech," he said. "Still works. Let's fix what we can." That night, Rinya slept. Her body shook, but slowly the fear faded. Daniel sat near the window, shotgun on his lap. He watched the fence line. He knew someone would come. Not to help, but to take her back. Just before dawn, there was a knock. Daniel opened the door to find a short alien man with sharp yellow eyes. He was wearing the robes of a village elder. "You have something that does not belong to you," the man said coldly. Daniel didn't blink. "I saved her." "You stole her," the elder snapped. "From her fate. She was given to the machines. Our way must not be interrupted." Daniel crossed his arms. "Your way nearly chopped her in half." The elder stepped forward. "Return her or face exile or worse." Behind him, Daniel saw several villagers hiding in the shadows, torches in hand. Fear in their eyes, but also hate. Daniel didn't move. He said only one thing. "I won't return her. I'll protect her." Then he shut the door. Inside, Rinya had woken and heard it all. She sat in the blanket, watching him from the couch, her glowing eyes full of something new, hope. "You would fight for me?" she asked. Daniel looked back, eyes steady. "Yeah," he said. "And I'm not done yet." The morning sun on Taralis 9 rose slowly, painting the dry earth in soft gold. Daniel's farmhouse creaked in the breeze. Inside, all was quiet, except for the soft ticking of an old clock and the low hum of a healing cube. Rinya lay still on the couch, wrapped in a thick brown blanket. Her eyes were open, staring at the wooden ceiling. She didn't sleep much. Sleep brought dreams, and dreams took her back to the ropes, to the post, to the sound of metal blades spinning closer. Daniel was in the kitchen, fixing breakfast, flatbread, preserved fruit, and warm broth. It was simple, but more than Rinya had tasted in weeks, maybe months. She turned her head slowly when she heard the dishes clink. He walked over, placed the tray on a crate near her, and stepped back. "You should eat," he said gently. Rinya sat up just a little, her body still weak. She looked at the tray. Her fingers moved slowly, picking up the spoon. She brought it to her lips but stopped. Her hand trembled. Daniel noticed. "You're safe now," he said. Rinya nodded, but her face showed doubt. She forced the first spoonful into her mouth. It was warm. She chewed, she swallowed. And suddenly, tears welled up in her eyes. Daniel froze. "Did it hurt?" Rinya shook her head, wiping her cheek with her wrist. "No, it's just, no one ever gave me food like this. Not with care." She looked down at her hands, bruised and thin. "In my family, food was punishment. If I cried, they'd take it away. If I spoke too loudly, they'd say I was showing off. If I bled, they made me clean it with my tongue." Daniel sat down, on the floor across from her, heart heavy. "You're not with them anymore." Rinya looked up at him. "Then why do I still feel them?" Later that day, she tried to walk. Daniel helped her stand, one arm under her shoulder. Each step was shaky. When she collapsed onto the old chair, her breathing was fast, chest rising and falling. Daniel knelt beside her and gently moved her long silver hair aside. That's when he saw them. The marks on her back. Burns. Cuts. Whip lashes. Dozens of them. Crisscrossed like cruel handwriting written in pain. His jaw clenched. "They did this to you?" Rinya didn't answer. She only looked away. Daniel stood up and walked outside. His fists were tight. He didn't go far, just to the barn. There. He punched the wooden beam so hard it cracked. "Monsters," he whispered. "All of them." He looked at his hands. Old, rough, used to fixing engines and building fences. But now, they were shaking. He went back inside, calmer. Rinya was standing now, leaning against the window. She looked out at the open land, her eyes scanning the horizon. "This place is quiet," she said. Daniel nodded. "Most people left years ago. Soil's dry. Crops barely grow." She turned to him. "Then why stay?" He smiled a little. "Sometimes broken things still matter, even the ones no one wants." Rinya blinked. His words felt sharp, but not in a bad way. They felt like truth. That night the wind howled outside. The stars were cold above. Rinya lay on the bed Daniel had made for her from spare cushions. Daniel sat nearby, fixing a broken light panel. After a long silence, she spoke. "I used to think my name was a curse. Rinya means moonless in my language. My mother said I was born on the darkest night, in our cycle." Daniel set the panel down. "Then maybe that's why you shine so bright." She looked at him, puzzled. He continued. "The stars need darkness to be seen. You survived that darkness." Rinya didn't know what to say. Her lips moved, but no words came. So instead, she just whispered, "Thank you." In her sleep that night, there were no screams, only peace. The next morning brought soft clouds and the scent of rain, rare on the dry planet of Teralis 9. Daniel stood outside his house, looking over his field. The soil was cracked. Weeds grew faster than grain. But his eyes weren't on the land today. They were on the path leading to the village. Something had changed since he rescued the alien girl. The silence from the village was gone. In its place, rumors were growing like wildfire. Back in the village square, old alien women whispered while grinding roots. Traders paused their deals just to talk in hushed tones. Even the children looked up from their dusty games when the word, human, was mentioned. They all talked about one thing: the cursed girl had lived, and a human had saved her. "He's keeping her in his home," one said, shaking her head. "A human. Why would he care? They say she speaks now, that she's healing. Impossible. She was left for death. She should have been taken by the harvesters. She was born wrong. Everyone knew it. Her blood doesn't even heat properly. She'll bring misfortune. He'll lose his crops. His house will burn." Back at the farmhouse, Daniel returned inside. Rinya was sweeping the corner of the room slowly, her movements careful but determined. "You don't have to do that," he said. She paused and gave a small smile. "I want to." She had spoken more today than all the days before combined. But her voice trembled as she asked, "Do they hate you now, because of me?" Daniel sighed. "They already didn't like me. I'm human. I came here years ago to start a quiet life. I fix things. I trade sometimes. But I never joined their meetings, never bowed to their rules." He shrugged. "Now, they've just found a new reason to look at me sideways." Rinya looked down. "I didn't mean to bring trouble." Daniel stepped closer. "You didn't bring trouble. You brought truth." She didn't understand. He saw it in her eyes. "You're not the shame, Rinya," he said gently. "They are, for what they did to you." That afternoon, the wind carried voices. Rinya stood near the window and saw them, villagers at the edge of the field. 3 of them, 2 elders and 1 young warrior in a leather vest. They didn't come close. They only watched. Daniel went out and stood near his broken fence. "You need something?" he called. 1 elder raised a hand. "We came to warn you. She was abandoned by law, by right. Taking her back breaks sacred order." Daniel replied, calm but firm. "I don't follow your law." The younger warrior stepped forward. "Then expect consequences." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Is that a threat?" "No," the elder said. "It's a prediction." They turned and walked away. That night, Rinya didn't eat much. She sat near the corner, her legs curled up, eyes staring at the flames in the small heater. Daniel watched her quietly. "You think they'll come?" she asked. Daniel nodded. "Maybe not tonight. But soon." She turned her face toward him, her silver eyes reflecting fear. "I should leave," she whispered. "Go far. They'll leave you alone." "No," he said simply. "Why?" Daniel leaned forward. "Because no one stood for you. Not once. And maybe, just maybe, you need to see what it feels like when someone does." Her lips parted slightly. She didn't cry, but she felt something new, something warm. That same night, across the village, a secret meeting began. Torches were lit. Voices were raised. "She was cursed," one man shouted. "Yet he protects her. She will bring hunger and storms. We must act." A cloaked figure stepped forward. "Then tomorrow night, we burn the house." But back in the farmhouse under dim lights and quiet walls, Rinya laughed for the first time. It was small, but it was real. Daniel smiled. "You've got a nice laugh," he said. She looked surprised. "I never knew." It began with smoke. At first, Daniel thought it was just the stove again. His old heater always leaked a little. But this time, the smoke wasn't inside the house. It was outside. Rinya was the first to smell it. She rose from her mat and opened the wooden window shutter. Her breath caught in her throat. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice shaking. "The barn." Daniel rushed to the door. The sky was orange. The barn was on fire. Flames danced through the roof, black smoke rising into the sky like a flare. The animals inside were crying. His 2 kilo beasts and a pair of old solar hens. He didn't think. He just ran. The fire wrapped around the wooden walls like claws. Daniel kicked open the side door, heat hitting him like a punch. He ran inside, coughing, eyes stinging. The kilo beasts were trapped under a fallen beam. He pushed. The wood cracked. His back screamed with pain. 1 beast crawled out. The second didn't move. Daniel tried again, until a shadow entered the barn. "Get out," he shouted. But it was Rinya. She had followed him in. Her thin hands reached beside his. Together, they pushed. Together, the beam shifted. The second beast stumbled out. The roof cracked loudly above them. Daniel grabbed Rinya's arm. "Run!" They barely made it out. The barn collapsed behind them in a burst of fire and ash. Rinya lay on the ground, coughing hard, her face covered in soot. Daniel sat beside her, arms over his knees, breathing heavily. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then, Rinya whispered, "They did this, didn't they?" Daniel nodded slowly. That night the wind was still. The barn was gone. Nothing left but burnt bones and smoke. Daniel sat sharpening an old hunting knife by the light of a lantern. His shotgun leaned against the table. Rinya was quiet. Her hands trembled as she swept the ash from the porch. "You saved them," she said after a while. "The animals." Daniel nodded. "They're innocent. Just like you." She looked at him. "So why are they punishing you?" "Because hate doesn't need a reason," Daniel said softly. "It only needs a target. In the village, there was no guilt. The men who lit the fire sat in silence, waiting for news. When none came, one of them muttered, 'The fire failed.' The village elder stood and said, 'Then we go ourselves.' He looked toward the dark fields. 'Tomorrow night, we take her back by force.' Back at the farmhouse, Rinya had stopped. Shaking, something in her had changed. She walked to Daniel's tool bench and picked up a thin iron rod. Her fingers wrapped around it tightly. "If they come," she said quietly, "I won't run." Daniel turned to her. "You don't have to fight." She looked him in the eye. "But I want to." Daniel gave a small smile. "You've got fire, too," he said. She smiled back. But there was no fear in her anymore. Only anger and strength. That night they slept in shifts. The shotgun was loaded, and the front door was locked, not because Daniel feared what was coming, but because now. They both stood ready. The morning was too quiet. Even the wind had stopped. Daniel noticed it first. He stood on the porch, shotgun across his chest, eyes scanning the horizon. His animals stayed close to the house, refusing to wander. Rinya stood behind him, holding the iron rod she had refused to put down since the fire. She had changed in the past days, no longer the frightened girl tied to a post. Now she stood taller, her silver eyes steady, her scars no longer hidden. But when the dust clouds rose in the distance, even she took a step back. 6 figures approached the house. 5 walked. 1 rode a crawler beast draped in ceremonial cloth. Her family had come. The rider was her uncle, Kade, tall and proud, a merchant and speaker for their clan. Beside him was her older brother, Korin, the same one who had tied her to the post. The others were warriors, cold-eyed and silent. Daniel didn't move. Neither did Rinya. The group stopped just outside the broken fence line. Kade raised a gloved hand. "We've come for the girl." Daniel spoke first. "She has a name." Kade's eyes narrowed. "She is family. Our law demands her return." "You left her to die," Daniel replied. Korin stepped forward, his voice sharp. "We freed her spirit. You interrupted that." Rinya took 1 step beside Daniel. "I'm not going with you," she said, her voice calm. "I choose to stay." Korin laughed. "You don't get to choose. You are moonless. You were born without purpose." Kade added, "Her blood is broken. Her presence near crops spoils the roots. We were cleansing the land." Daniel's jaw tightened. "She healed my land." Kade's lips curled. "No alien can change what she is." Daniel looked at Rinya. "She already has." The warriors behind Kade moved. Their hands rested on the hilts of curved shock blades. Daniel lifted his shotgun slowly. "If you try to take her by force, there will be a cost." Rinya stepped forward. "And I won't hide. Not again." For a moment, no, one moved. The wind picked up again. Dust swirled between the 2 sides. Then Kade raised a finger to his warriors. "Stand down," Daniel blinked. "I won't fight here," Kade said, eyes locked on Rinya. "But you, girl, have brought shame that will not fade. You've chosen this thing over your people." "I chose kindness," Rinya said. "Something you never gave me." Valed turned his crawler beast sharply. Corin spat into the dust. They left without another word, but Daniel knew. This wasn't over. Back inside the farmhouse, Rinya stood near the window, watching the fading shapes of her family disappear into the horizon. She didn't cry. Not this time. Daniel poured tea and handed her a mug. "You okay?" She nodded. "I think I finally am." That evening, the wind carried a new scent. Rain. And for the first time in weeks, it began to fall gently on the dry land. Rinya stepped outside and lifted her face to the sky. The rain touched her skin. Like a soft song, she turned to Daniel and said something she never imagined she would say. "Thank you for giving me back my life." The rain washed over the land for 3 days, and something strange happened. The soil turned dark and rich, the way it used to be before the drought. Small green shoots began to rise from the earth. Even Daniel's broken field, once dry and hopeless, showed signs of life. He stood quietly beside the window, watching tiny sprouts dance in the soft rain. Rinya stood next to him, barefoot on the wooden floor, her silver eyes wide in wonder. "It's like the land forgave itself," she whispered. Daniel smiled. Maybe it just needed someone to believe in it again. She looked at him. "Like, you believed in me?" He nodded. Weeks passed. Rinya's strength returned fully. The wounds on her back faded into pale lines. The pain in her eyes was replaced with quiet fire. She laughed now, often. She helped Daniel in the fields, fed the animals, and even taught his old repair robot a new alien greeting it repeated proudly. Daniel made a second chair on the porch. Every evening they sat together and watched the twin moons rise. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they said nothing. But silence, for the first time, was no longer lonely. One morning, Rinya placed a small rock on the edge of the field, carved carefully by her own hand. It was shaped like a flower with a small alien rune on it. Daniel knelt beside it. "What does it say?" he asked. Rinya smiled softly. "It says my new name." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "New?" She nodded. Rinya was the name they gave me, the moonless, the forgotten. "I want a name that means something new." He looked at the symbol again. "What does it mean?" "It means Ashari, the one who rose after fire." Daniel looked at her proud. "Ashari," he repeated. "It fits you." Later that day, a trader ship stopped near the village. The pilot, a human woman, had mechanical parts and a curious spirit. She came to Daniel's door asking for engine coolant. Ashari helped her fix a wing sensor in minutes. The pilot raised an eyebrow. "You're good. You ever think about leaving this dusty planet?" Ashari looked at Daniel, then at the land behind the house. "No," she said. "I think I just found my roots." The trader smiled. "If you ever change your mind, look up this signal." She handed Ashari a blinking card and took off into the sky. Ashari stood in the wind, holding it for a while. Then she slipped it into her pocket, not out of desire to leave, but as a reminder. This time, she had the choice. One night, Daniel lit a small fire near the field. Ashari joined him, sitting cross-legged, wearing a simple wool shirt he had stitched for her. Her silver hair was braided now, flowing gently down her back. She looked at the stars, then turned to him. "Do you ever miss Earth?" Daniel chuckled. "Sometimes, mostly the coffee. And pizza." Ashari tilted her head. "Pizza?" Daniel grinned. "Oh, we've got work to do." They both laughed. And for the first time in a long, long time, she didn't feel like a stranger in someone else's story. She felt like she was home.